Give me the hot sauce, Bill Buck. Give me the hot sauce. What are you doing, Dragic? Did you not get the memo? Derrick Rose can go upstairs. Woo!
Time for a brand new episode of the Gimme the Hot Sauce podcast alongside Stacey King. I'm Mark Shanowski, and if you're watching on YouTube, looking for Timmy Whispers, hey, we don't know where he is. I mean, the red-faced Irishman could be anywhere, you know?
Well, the last I heard, he was going up to Madison, Wisconsin.
Is he welcome there?
I don't know. He was. It was like a impromptu business thing he had to get to today. So, yeah, he'll be back next week.
We missed him. You know, I mean, it's the third week in a row he hasn't been here. He doesn't say a whole lot, but what he says sometimes can be the highlight of the show.
It's very impactful. It's very impactful. You know, you almost have one of those those little shock collars that you want to put around his neck if he says something like crazy off the wall, but you know it's coming at some point.
This is kind of the dead period for NBA fans, you know, mid-August into late September. Guys are getting their last vacations in before they show back up to the facility. I know when you were playing, you said guys would come in early September and start playing some pickup, right?
Yeah, it'd be like September, like middle of September. You know, Phil always wanted us to stay away from the gym, you know, because our seasons were going on so long. We're going all the way into June, and they wanted our bodies to heal up, you know, so he didn't want us really playing a lot of basketball. He'd always tell us to come into camp in October, come in about 60% in shape, and then we'll work our way up. And that's a coach that understands his players. You know, he has a pulse of his team, and that's what we did every year.
It's really changed a lot now. I think guys are almost required to stay in top shape almost the entire year. You know, it's a 24/7 league, 12 months out of the year, and I think in some ways that kind of affects guys' effectiveness. You know, they get late in the year and they're like kind of burned out.
Well, I mean, you got to give your body a rest. I mean, you know, it's like having tires. You know, you buy 4 new tires, they only have a certain amount of miles they go before the tread wears off. And it's the same thing being an athlete. I think the players work out way too much. I mean, I think what we've seen over the years is a copycat league. You see 1 or 2 players get a personal coach. Everybody has to have a personal coach. Not only do you have your coaches that coach your team, but you have your own personal guy that travels with you, pay. These guys are making up to $300,000-$400,000 a year just being, you know, teaching guys ball handling skills. And then they travel with them. They're always with them. And I just think you do need some rest. You need to give yourself some time. I used to have this conversation with DeMar DeRozan, you know, because he plays in the Drew League every year. And the reason why he plays in the Drew League is because he's from Compton, and it's something to help the community. And I always used to tell him, like, man, DeMar, like, you know, you probably could play another 5 years, you know, if you didn't play in the Drew League area. And he doesn't just show up once a week. He shows up every time. He's playing.
We mentioned last week he had 54 points.
Exactly. And he's playing probably at least 20 games, 25 games in that Drew League, where most NBA players may only play 3. They show up, get a crowd. Like Coby would come in there and play one time during the Drew League. LeBron's been there one time. They only show up when they're playing the championship game, so they get to play in that game.
Right.
But guys like DeMar who grind and play all year, you know, play all summer long to get to the finals. And so, yeah, he's doing it for his community. I get that. But at some point you have to say to yourself, like, that's a little bit too much basketball.
It is the slow time in the NBA, but we never let you down here on Give Me the Hot Sauce. Stacey reached out to one of our buddies, Steph Noh. He's the senior NBA writer for Sporting News. He's going to join us in just a few minutes, talk about all the offseason developments and look ahead to what might be projected for the Bulls in the upcoming season. Couple of notes in this past week. Read in the Sun-Times that Lonzo Ball playing 5-on-5 and no problems. He's reported back to the Bulls that he's feeling good. He said in an interview, I believe it was with TMZ, that Bulls fans can count on me being on the court this year.
I listen, Bulls Nation, I told you. I said, this kid is a basketball savant. He wants to play. There was going to be nothing keeping this kid off the court. And from what the videos that you've seen, the people I've talked to, he looks really, really good. Has no ill effects of the injury that kept him out for the last 2 years. Can run. He's jumping. He's, you know, posting up. And everything has been in stages. You know, the first stage was just to get him on the court, you know, just to get him back on the court a little bit. And every stage he's done more and more. Now he's progressed to 5-on-5. And I do believe that they're going to have a hard time keeping him off the floor because I think he's, in his mind, I've been sitting for 2 years. Like, I don't want to sit anymore.
He wants to play.
He wants to play. And I think in the beginning, the Bulls are going to have a hard time saying, okay, we're going to get you to a 20-minute mark a game. I think he's going to be one of those guys that pushes for more than 20 minutes.
We've talked about the fact on previous shows that the Bulls have a very guard-heavy roster. when you look at the fact that they want to keep that top 10 pick in the 2025 draft, and they do have some young guys they want to develop, you think it might be a scenario where they let Lonzo play and maybe move him at the deadline to a contending team?
I don't know. I mean, Lonzo's like with all the injuries. Okay, let's take away the injuries. Let's say he's healthy. Lonzo Ball is one of the best point guards in the league.
Mm-hmm.
You know, people forget what he meant to this team before he went out. You know, he was a number 2 rebounder from the point guard position at 6'6". He was the best 3-point shooter we had at that time, shooting over 40% from the 3-point line. His defense is top notch. I mean, one of the tops in the league at his position. When you had both him and Caruso on the floor at the same time, they locked teams down. They took the 2 best players, perimeter players, out of the lineup. That's how good they were. If he comes back anywhere near what he was when he left, it'd be hard for the Bulls to move him because he's still young. It's not like he's 32 years old. It's not like he's an older guard. He's still in his 20s. And, you know, those 2 years that he missed, even though there were injuries, he didn't put mileage on the body. So you got to factor in that as well. And if he comes back, he looks healthy, and he can play the same way he played before he went out, man, it'd be hard for me if I was AK and them moving, because I think he's a I don't want to say a generational talent, but I think he's a talent that you just don't find in the draft every year.
We'll talk more about the Lonzo situation when Steph Noh joins us in our next segment. One other Bulls thing I wanted to get to before we talk a little football. Kenny Lofton on board. He's a guy that really dominated on the college
Way to go,
levels,
Bulls.
and I know you've mentioned him in the past as a guy that might be a good fit here.
Listen, he's like a Charles Barkley type player. Mm-hmm. I mean, he can rebound, he can score. I loved him when he was at Louisiana Tech. You know, I think people were focused on his weight and, you know, how that would translate into the NBA, but he's shown that he's an NBA caliber player. Now, again, not being able to stick in certain places, you know, sometimes, you know, players get to certain places and they have certain guys at their position that they want to see. If you weren't their draft pick, you may not get the opportunities that someone else might get because they have a draft pick that's playing the same position as you. This is a kid I think Bulls fans are going to love. He's going to play hard every night. He's hungry. He can score from all different facets, you know, face-ups, post-ups. He runs the floor. He rebounds. And it gives the Bulls another body, another big body. We're kind of short on – we have more guards than forwards. And I've always liked this kid. He can pass out of the post. Yeah, he's true back-to-the-basket forward that can play out face-up position, but he's a true back-to-the-basket guy that will get buckets and get to the foul line.
Now, he's going to have to show something in the preseason because he signed what's called an Exhibit 10 contract. It's a 1-year minimum deal, but if he doesn't show what the Bulls want, they could just cut him and be no harm, no foul for the Bulls. They wouldn't owe him any money. He gets a bonus when signing, but that's about it. They have one guy on the roster, Onur Al-Bidim, the guy they brought over from Turkey. He's on a partially guaranteed contract, so they could free up a spot that way. But it really is turned into a roster crunch now. You for Billy trying to figure out playing time, the preseason is going to be really interesting to see which guys emerge as your top 10.
Well, and this is why the coaches get paid big bucks. I mean, this is you know, this roster that's been assembled right now. Listen, AK's already said, listen, they're not in a full rebuild. You know, I know we got a lot of new guys here. AK wants to win. The Bulls want to win. You know, they want that top 10 pick. And I believe with this talent that they have on this team, they're going to be much better than what a lot of people think. And that's going to be pretty scary at the end because you're trying to play for that Cooper Flagg draft. And, you know, you can get Cooper Flagg, who's a generational talent. You know, you can't have 1 foot in, 1 foot out. There's got to be a commitment. We're either gonna tank or we're going to go win. We're going to win as many games as we get to the playoffs. And, you know, we lose the pick, we lose the pick. We don't know what they're thinking. We don't know. But we'll know when the season starts based on how the lineups are out there and how good this team actually is playing with one another. You know, if they jump off to a good start, we're all sitting there like, oh, there goes Cooper Flagg. You know, it's like that little puppy in the window. Yeah. Are you going to take me? You're going to take me? And we just keep on walking.
Yeah. Don't have any room in the car.
I got no room in the car. We're full, baby. We're full.
The NBA schedule was released last Thursday. The Bulls have a really tough schedule to start the year, especially the opening week. You start out at New Orleans, at Milwaukee, then your home openers against the Oklahoma City Thunder. Thunder might be the best team in the entire league in terms of their roster development. Do you see the shot of Zion Williamson on social media? He looks trimmed down. It looks like he's ready to roll.
Well, I mean, he's got to. I mean, it's at that point right now in his career where, you know, are you a superstar or are you a guy that's like had superstar potential? And I think now he's starting to realize, like hearing all the people talk about his weight and how, he's a part-time player, can never stay healthy. I think he's tired of hearing that noise. And I think he's, seeing some of these guys that are these other young stars, Anthony Edwards, step up. And these guys now are starting to look like the face of the league. And whereas when he first came in, you had people talking about him being the face of the league. You don't hear that talk anymore because he's been injured and all the things that come along with it. But at the end of the day, they depending what they do with Brandon Ingram, they still are trying to supposedly move him. I don't know why you'd want to move him because I think he's a enormous talent for them. And it's not like they get super talented anyway. When you got talent there, you got, especially the smaller marketplaces, you got to find a way to keep those guys.
Right. They've got an interesting team in New Orleans, and it's going to be crazy out west. We'll talk about that with Steph in our next segment. Let's talk a little Bears before we take a break here. Very interesting to see, what they've been doing. They've dominated a couple of good teams in the Buffalo Bills and the Cincinnati Bengals. Bengals didn't play their starters last week, but still, the way the defense dominated, and then after a slow start, Caleb Williams made some plays that had you going, wow, this guy got it.
Listen, America, I was wrong. Okay, I can admit when I was wrong. I was a big Justin Fields guy. I wanted Justin Fields to succeed here. And that had nothing against Caleb Williams because Caleb Williams is originally from Oklahoma. He's an Oklahoma Sooner. Always will be Oklahoma Sooner. The Heisman that he won at USC should be an Oklahoma's trophy case. I always liked the kid. I just thought Justin Fields didn't have the same kind of weapons that he has. Mm-hmm. But after watching this kid in these first few preseason games, I'm telling you, man, I don't think Justin Fields could have done what this kid is doing. This kid is remarkable arm strength. He can throw on the run. He got different arm angles. It's almost literally like watching Patrick Mahomes, a smaller Patrick Mahomes out there. Some of the plays that he makes. There was one play, against the Bengals where he got out of the sack. He turned around to look to see where the defender was, the lineman, and then pirouetted out and then threw a dart down the sideline, like off the back foot. And I'm like, oh my God, that's an amazing play.
See, that's the thing. You see a lot of quarterbacks that can scramble, but very few have the arm strength to be able to throw it across the field off one leg like he can do.
Well, he's just got great, and he processes information very quickly. You could just see it when he sees different blitzes come. Now, granted, he probably has seen, he probably hasn't seen like what he's going to see in the regular season as far as blitz packages are concerned. But Buffalo sent their number one defense out against him and blitzed him, and he got off all the passes he needed to get off. But he processes the information very quickly. He can manipulate his arm strength if he wants to go short, long. He's got his eyes down the field always. You never see him when most quarterbacks are scrambling. They got their head on a swivel. He's like this. His eyes are just like this. His eyes are moving, but the head doesn't. And he just boom. So when you got a guy whose head's not moving, like he's not doing this, defense can't follow where he's going. If he's like, look, I'm looking over here, all of a sudden I throw over here, and the guy's wide open because we're all over here. The defenders are going to there because you assume he's going to make that pass there. And that's what makes Patrick Mahomes so good, is because his eyes are always moving, but the head never. Did you see the behind-the-back pass?
Oh, yeah.
Not too many guys could do that. that was an amazing, amazing throw from Patrick Mahomes. But the Bears got a good one. I was wrong, America, and I'll be the first one to admit it. And I still love Justin Fields. I still want Justin Fields to do well in Pittsburgh. But this is early. It's still preseason, so my boy told me it's still preseason, man. So don't get too hyped. I'm like, man, this kid's the real deal.
Yeah, he's got all the talent.
Listen, how many days you see Stacey King wear a Bears hat? Never. Okay? So I pulled out the old bear. Paul, what is it, bear down? Bear down. Caleb, baby. Sooners, baby. Woo-hoo. I guarantee we're going to the playoffs.
And Caleb's not the only top 10 pick on that Bears roster. It was nice to see Odunze get involved. He had the 15-yard gain on the reverse. He caught the 40-plus yard pass, the beautiful throw downfield by Caleb. And if he hadn't had his feet, they were kind of confusing where the lines were there. He'll get used to that. They would have had a touchdown hookup as well.
Yeah, he was just out of bounds on that thing. That was a dart, too. That was a dart throw. They're going to be a great combination. They both come in together. You can tell that they have a connection with one another.
Mutual respect there,
and there's a respect there. They both played in the same conference, but they were friends. They were friends leading up to the draft, and you could tell that they have some kind of connection. And that's going to be fun to watch for many, many years for Bears fans to watch that connection grow. And they have it, and Odunze has a chance to be very good his rookie year, but he's learning from DJ Moore and all these good receivers the Bears have. He's learning from these guys. And that's normally when you come in, you're a first round pick, you might be on a bad team. You might not have those kind of guys in the locker room that are all pro caliber players that can show you and teach you how to be a pro. Both Caleb Williams has that with DJ Moore and all these guys, and Odunze has that with the other guys too. So it's the Bears got some good picks.
And for fans out there who have suffered with some of the teams struggling through rebuilds, you can see right now that Ryan Poles wants to win. He wants to win now. The Bears were actively involved in trying to trade for Matthew Judon, who was in a contract stalemate with the New England Patriots. He wound up going to Atlanta for a third-round pick, but the Bears also offered a third-round pick. They just decided they thought the Falcons' pick would be better. And, Judon's a 32-year-old guy who's got a lot of experience in the league as a pass rusher. But some of these young guys, Booker, has looked really good as a defensive end. I guess they'll still be on the lookout for another edge rusher, but the defense right now looks as strong as any unit.
It's always a good thing, Mark, that they're looking to get better. Okay, this is a team last year that they won 7 games. They easily could have won 10. Okay, so they recognize that the talent is there. They've got to address a couple of issues. They did that this all season. This kid Booker, coming from Kansas, high motor, gets to the quarterback.
Yeah.
This is a kid I don't think anyone was probably thinking was going to make that kind of an impact if he was even going to be a special teams guy, because he doesn't have the size. We talked to Mark Brody, like they were concerned about his size in the beginning. But he's this is what he does. He makes plays. He's a playmaker. And you got to have as many playmakers you get out there on here. And a guy with that kind of speed on the edge is hard to defend. It's hard to block a guy that can just he might not bulldoze you to get to the quarterback, but his footwork and his quickness is able to get him to the quarterback. And those guys have a lot of success in this league.
You probably heard that Simone Biles' husband, Jonathan Owens, moved from Green Bay to the Bears, making that unpopular move within the division. And Simone is the most decorated U.S. female gymnast ever, but she pulled a fashion faux pas. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see that jacket that she has pulled down over her shoulder. That's actually got Green Bay Packers logo on it. It's got his picture as a Packer. That's not what you want to wear to Soldier Field.
Yeah, but hey, she's an American. She's American darling, baby.
Yes.
So she can get away with it.
I was telling my wife that when they started walking in, they should have gotten some swag for her right away. Hey, Simone, why don't you try this?
Yeah, they should have got it to her earlier.
Yeah.
I mean, as soon as they signed him and they knew he was going to be on the roster,
get her the swag.
Let's get her the swag now. Get whatever she wants. Tell her to come to the Bears store and let's get that. That's like showing up to a Bulls game. It was a wife of one of the players in a Detroit Piston bad boy T-shirt or something.
Somebody must have pointed out though, because she initially had the jacket on and she had the Packer the G on her shoulder. You see, she pulled it down.
She pulled it down. She recognized where she was. Yeah. She recognized somebody probably
it's a
told her.
Quick adjustment.
It was like, Miss Miles, you need to pull that jacket down a little bit. That's our arch rival. Your husband doesn't play there anymore, and he's a Bear. Yeah, so
we don't want America's darling getting any abuse from the home fans at Soldier Field. But Jonathan Owens is a hitter too. He's shown in these first couple of games. He'll bring it from that safety position.
Hey, and that's exactly what they need. They need to have guys out there that are not afraid to lay that leather on people coming across the middle. The defense, I'm telling you, they look fast. They look engaged. I've been really impressed with the ball hawks. I mean, these guys are getting turnovers, they're getting fumbles, interceptions. And if they can do that throughout this year, because it looks like when you look at the division, it looks like it's up in the air. Detroit still is the favorite. Mm-hmm. I'm not sold on Green Bay.
They look terrible last night.
They look terrible, yeah. I'm not sold on Green Bay. Everybody's like, last year they had such a great year, Jordan Love, I'm not too sold on them right now. And then you got, Minnesota, their quarterback got knee surgery.
He's out for the year.
He's out for the year. So I'm not really – and who's the backup there?
They're going with the kid from USC. I'm drawing a blank on
Sam Darnold?
Yeah.
Oh, Lord. Okay, so
he's bounced around a lot.
Okay, well, we're not worried about them either.
Nope.
So the Bears could sneak in, and not even really sneak in. They're going to win 10 games. That should be the goal for this team is 10 games. They won 7 games last year, and they tricked off three or four games they should have won. Okay, so now you come out this year, they got better talent, they got better offensive weapons, you got most likely a better quarterback at the position. So now you're looking at 10 wins. And I'm going over. If they say what's the over, I'm going to say over. It's going to be 11.
And they have a very aggressive general manager. Ryan Poles has made trades at each of the past 2 deadlines. It used to be in the NFL, you never had any trades. But Poles is not afraid to, make a gamble on trading a future pick to bring a guy in. And Sweat, as paid off in a big way for them at that defensive end spot.
Well, I mean, you have to, there's the mediocrity has to. We live in a big city. Chicago Bear Town. They got to start winning because the big thing is always the 85 Bears. That's the claim of fame to this franchise. The 85 Bears. There's been a lot of great players play here, but what have you done since 85? You've been to a Super Bowl, but have you won a Super Bowl? What have your teams done consistently? This should be a consistent team that should always be in the playoffs. The Bears should always be a staple in the playoffs. No matter, if they win the division, they should always be in the playoffs. That's just my opinion because it's been that good of a franchise, and there's so much. It's a story franchise, and they're becoming more popular now through Hard Knocks.
Oh, yeah. We'll talk more about that later in the show. That's been a lot of fun watching that. Episode 3 is coming out Tuesday night. So we're going to bring Steph Noh in, talk more NBA and Bulls in just a sec. But first, I want to tell you about one of our great sponsors, our good friend Jeff Vukovic. When it comes to being treated like royalty, Jeff will take care of you. He'll make sure that you are taken care of with all your insurance needs, auto, home, and business. You can contact Jeff at jeffvuk.com. That's jeffvuk.com. The phone number, 847-825-4783. And the jingle, always ready to roll.
Nationwide is on your side.
Very nicely done. So reach out to Jeff for all your insurance needs. After a quick timeout, we're going to bring in Steph Noh, talk all things Bulls in the NBA. That's next on Gimme the Hot Sauce. Welcome back to Gimme the Hot Sauce. Time for some Bulls and NBA talk with our good friend Steph Noh. He's the senior NBA writer for Sporting News. Steph, thanks for joining the show. Interesting situation with the Bulls right now. They're not really committed to a full rebuild, but they've added some young pieces, and right now I think they'd love to keep that top 10 draft pick. Otherwise, it goes to San Antonio. How's that going to impact the season with trying to both win games and also try to keep that draft pick?
Well, I think keeping that pick should be the priority just because, I'm not a draft guy like the guy you had on before me, Ricky O'Donnell, who, by the way, I had the totally clear background here. I didn't want to get roasted like you guys did.
Oh, wow.
So
You gotta see how we intimidate people, man. That's terrible. It's not me, Steph. It's these guys. It's Timmy Whispers of what it said about Ricky.
It was too easy, though, Steph. I mean,
yeah, I'm not giving you guys any ammo. I don't have the self-esteem of Ricky.
I was going to say, are you in a hospital? There's all these white walls. I'm like, I'm waiting for a doctor to come in and say, Mr. No, you need to put your jacket back on, please.
Yeah, but to answer your guys' question, this 2025 draft, I talk a lot with Ricky and other draft guys. It's supposed to be awesome. It's not just Cooper Flagg, who's number 1. I mean, I think if the Bulls get the 7th or 8th pick in this draft, they're going to be really set up well for the future. So if they win a lot, I mean, that's obviously a great problem to have. I don't think that they would be too upset about that. But honestly, I think they're going to be just like naturally in the bottom 10 teams anyway. So yeah, I think that's the plan going forward here.
Well, I think it's going to be hard to be one of the bottom teams when you're bringing back Zach Lavine. You're going to have, you got Vooch still here. And then you also got Lonzo Ball, who, with all reports, looks like he's going to be healthy and be ready to go. Looks like his knee is 100%. And then also, Steph, the way the Bulls have rebuilt the team, they haven't gone full rebuild by going through the draft. They've done it a different way that what a lot of teams don't want to do is they go out and get young talent off teams' benches. And these kids, you've got 7 or 8 of them on the Bulls roster right now who are under 25 years old that has some success here in the NBA, have over 800 starts between them.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting strategy. It's not necessarily one that we've seen from some of the other teams who've rebuilt have really hit a super high ceiling, like the Thunder, who just stockpiled a ton of picks and were willing to miss on guys. I think the Bulls don't quite have that risk tolerance where they don't want to, put their hopes on a couple players in the draft that might just totally flame out. So they're getting somewhat more proven players, which, that's going to lessen the pain of these rebuilds. Like when we saw them trade away Jimmy Butler, those were some pretty dark years for a couple of years. So we're not going to get that. But at the same time, the best teams, the ones that win championships, they always have a top 5 guy in them. Is there anybody on the Bulls roster right now that could be a top 5 player? I mean, it's kind of hard to see, but, I think that the Bulls are going to be a pretty decent playoff team, probably like a lot sooner than if they had just totally blown it up and gotten as many lottery picks as possible.
Stacey and I are fans of Josh Giddey. I thought his first 2 seasons in particular at Oklahoma City, he showed a lot of promise as a 6'7", 6'8" point guard who can kind of do everything in terms of running an offense. But he fell out of favor because he had that bad playoff series against Dallas where they basically didn't guard him, and then they sent him to the bench. We know he's not an accomplished three-point shooter, but getting a fresh start here in Chicago, what do you think Josh Giddey can bring to the Bulls?
I think Josh Giddey was a great buy low candidate because his last season was just so bad in so many different ways. I mean, the off court stuff was a huge distraction. He said that in postseason interviews. And we saw with some time just to kind of mentally recover what kind of player he could be in the Olympics. I mean, he was averaging, I think it was like 18 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists, something like that. You mentioned the 3-point shooting. I mean, he shot, I think it was like 48% in the Olympics. Now that's a closer line, and that was only on like 20 shots. So I don't know how much you can take from that, but there is some potential there. I think he was pretty good on the totally wide open ones. It's just kind of when there's pressure on him, or he's not a guy that's probably going to average 8 or 9 threes a game. But maybe if he can just hit the totally wide open spot ups, that makes him a more valuable player. And the big thing with him was, I mean, he needs the ball in his hands to be at his most effective. Obviously, they have Shea Gilgeous-Alexander there, who's just, I mean, he's a better player than Josh Giddey. They have Jalen Williams, also a better player. So the Bulls give him that opportunity to have the ball in his hands, really run the show, and he's a great passer. So I think he's going to make the other guys look good too.
We talk about Patrick Williams. We've seen the jump that Coby White had when he got more minutes and got consistent minutes. And now with DeMar DeRozan being gone, it opens up an opportunity for Patrick Williams. He got the contract now. He doesn't have to worry about getting paid. What do you see Patrick Williams' role this year coming in with that new contract?
I don't think the Bulls have necessarily a ton of wing depth. They haven't had that for, I mean, the last couple years. So he's going to get opportunities. He's always had opportunities. And, I do think, Stacey, you're right. Like he he's shown like a lot of skill, but he hasn't really had that killer mentality necessarily. Maybe that contract stuff was weighing on him. I mean, you could speak much better to that than me, from your playing days. But yeah, I think maybe like a little bit looser, a little bit less expectations this year. He could have a nice year.
I think he's going to have more expectations after signing that big contract. And he's going to get more shots with DeMar DeRozan. I know they wanted to try to move him to his natural small forward position. And if Matas Buzelis comes on strong, maybe that is going to be your front line of the future. Does it really matter, though, you think, that much, whether you play the small forward or the power forward? I know that they run plays for different guys in different sequences. You do a lot of breakdowns of what DeRozan has done in that Bulls offense. If you put Williams in that slot, will that make a substantial difference in his usage rate and his shots per game?
Yeah, I don't think it really matters. I think like in today's NBA, you really are what position you guard on the other end. So the really nice thing about Modest and Patrick both is they have a lot of positional versatility. I think that makes them very interesting. Like they can guard threes or fours, it doesn't really matter. Now, when you look at a team like the Knicks, I mean, why the Knicks had a really nice defense is Tom Thibodeau really embraced switching through a lot of the positions on his roster. Yeah, and I think that's just the way to go when you're building these modern NBA teams. So the Bulls are keeping up with the times and getting two guys, potential starters that can, just it doesn't matter if you put them on a three or four, they can just switch anyway, and they're going to be guarding both of those guys on the other team throughout the game.
One of the things we talked about, Steph, is we saw the development of Coby White. Should have probably been the most improved player last year. Now you have a situation now where you got Zach Lavine coming back. The Bulls tried to move him in the offseason, didn't happen. He comes back as a two guard. You've got Giddey now coming in. He's gonna possibly play the point. You got Lonzo Ball coming back now. What is Coby's ceiling with all the additions that the Bulls have? Do you see him taking a step back, or do you see him continuing his ascension to where we think he can be?
Well, I mean, I think it's interesting you brought up Zach twice here, and I mean, I don't think Zach's going to be on the team in like a couple of months. I don't know about you guys, but like
Why,
it seems
why do
like
you
they're
say
probably.
why do you say that, Steph?
I mean, I have heard that they're trying to move him. I don't think I'm breaking any news here, but
No, you're not. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, and I think the reasons why you laid out is kind of the reason why, right? Like they have a lot of guards. They need to make time for Coby White. Coby really stepped up with, Zach's injuries. I mean, I don't think that's like a total coincidence either, and I don't think that's a fault of Zach's. It's just it is what it is. Like he played better without him, right?
Yeah, I could, my thing when we've had discussions about Zach is because his trade value was so low during the
Mhm.
summer that the Bulls would almost have to bring him back unless you're just going to give him away. And we'd heard that the Bulls
100%.
the Bulls are going to give a first round pick for someone else to take him. And now you hear that, oh well, they're going to bring him back, show everybody he's healthy, and then maybe move him during the the trade deadline. But what if there's a scenario he does come back, he does become a team player, and he does buy into what Billy Donovan and the Bulls are trying to do, and is a good soldier and decides that he wants to stay? That scenario could possibly happen.
It's a lot of ifs there.
A lot of ifs, but it could possibly happen. He could come here and say, "Hey, I like to do," because I think his Zach's biggest problem was that you got DeMar DeRozan here, and DeMar DeRozan became the go-to guy when Zach has always been the go-to guy. Now Zach will never say that was a problem, but obviously you could tell that was an underlying problem. That DeMar was the guy that was featured, the guy that took the last second shots into fourth quarter games, Mr. Fourth Quarter. And that probably didn't sit well with Zach, who's used to being in that role.
I think you bring up some great points there, Stacey, and I'm in agreement with you. But I think that if that happens, again, the Bulls have a really good problem on their hands because, I mean, as much as we love Zach, his value around the league just has not been there. So if he can prove that, he has a good attitude, that he is willing to buy into these team concepts, which I think has been a little bit overblown. Like, I think that, we've seen when teams bring doubles against him, he's willing to pass the ball. He does kind of hunt for his shot a little bit, which I think that's a fair criticism. But I do think that, I mean, a lot of the stuff about him is just overblown. And like I said before, though, like this top 10 pick that's protected, they don't want to give this to the Spurs. So if Zach does end up playing a lot better, I think they're still going to be pretty aggressive in trying to move him, open up room for those guys under 25 that you were talking about. Because like even if Zach does play, at his level of 2 or 3 years ago, I mean, how many wins is this team topping out at? I think they're probably looking at play in zone again, which is not really, the situation. That's the situation they're essentially trying to get out of this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean they're probably definitely going to be in the play-in. I mean, you look at the Eastern Conference. There's definitely 4 teams that are worse than the Bulls on paper going into the season. You got Detroit, Washington, Charlotte, Brooklyn. Probably could even maybe throw Toronto or Atlanta in there. I mean, they're going to be in the mix for that 9-10 again this year. And in the West, Portland's bad. But there's a lot of other really good teams. Maybe Utah and San Antonio are also going to be lottery teams, but you've got a ton of good teams there. So I think that you could pencil them in that 8 to 12 range, but it could go either way right now. And I think Billy Donovan's going to have a tough time with minutes because they're going to want to develop Matas. They want to get more out of Patrick Williams, but you still got at the moment you got Zach and Vooch on the team. This is going to be a really tough juggling act for Billy Donovan. Don't you agree?
Yeah, and I know that Billy has gotten a ton of heat from the fan base. I don't think it has been very well deserved, to be honest. Like, I think he's done a great job all the seasons he's been here, especially on the defensive end. I mean, you look at some of the defensive talent he's had to work with, and he's gotten some top 10 teams out of it on the defensive side of the ball. I think that's just incredible. Yeah, and he's gonna have to do some balancing of egos, which, reportedly, I mean, it's been kind of like a touchy subject, I guess, between him and Zach. So that relationship is going to have to be repaired as well. But Billy also has a lot of people that speak very highly of him throughout the league. Joakim Noah, that's his guy. I think he's a pretty good people person. I mean, you guys again could speak better to that than me, but yeah, I think Billy is very well equipped for the job if that's something that he wants to do. I mean, we saw that he did not really want to pursue a rebuild situation in Oklahoma City, so that was kind of an intriguing question coming into the year.
Yeah, the one thing about the Zach and the Billy dynamic is if they bring Zach back, and we've talked about it on the show, is that they have to sit down. Everyone has to sit down and say, listen, this is what expectations are. This is where the direction we're going. You either have to buy in or you're not. But we're not gonna have we can't have. And Zach's not this kind of guy. I'm not saying Zach's this kind of guy. But you want to make sure that all your I's are, dotted and your T's are crossed. Everybody understands what direction we're going, because you don't want a guy in the locker room that's going to be a cancer in the locker room with all these young players who are trying to find their footing in the NBA. That's one thing, you don't want in your locker room. And Zach's not that kind of player, but you have to find that out, because he could come back being mad that he didn't get traded. He could come back and have an attitude and not want to buy into whatever they want to do. And then also understand that he's here to up his value. So he's going to want to average 25 points a game. He's going to want to do the things that he was doing before he got hurt last year. Do you agree with that?
I do. And Stacey, I'm really interested in your perspective in this because you've been on this from the coaching side, from the player side. I mean, obviously Phil Jackson, tremendous coach. He got a lot of players to buy into a lot of different kinds of roles. So, I mean, if you were Billy Donovan, I mean, how would you address a situation where Zach might think that, he can take 30 shots a game and be one of the best scorers in the league? And he might be right, but that might not be what the Bulls need from him. So I'm interested to hear, if you were coaching the Bulls, how you would address
Well,
that
I would sit him
situation.
down. I would sit him down. And one of the things my conversations I would have with Zach is, this was a hard lesson this summer, looking at your trade value. You consider yourself, where would you consider yourself? And I would ask him, Zach, where do you consider yourself as a player? Top 10, 15, 20. And Zach's going to tell you, I'm at least top 20. Okay. Well, then my conversation would be, well, if you were a top 20 player, then you might have been traded easily this summer. And obviously you weren't because you're not healthy. People are concerned about your health. And then you're defensive. They know you can score. And I would sit him down and say, hey, look, if we bring you back, this is what we need out of you. We need you to be a leader. We need you to be like a DeMar DeRozan in the locker room with the younger players. Help these guys. Still going to be able to score. You're still going to be able to do other things that you do. But we need you to play defense as well. We need you to get out and guard people because at his position, Steph, he should be in the top 5 in steals with his athleticism. Easily be in the top 5 in steals with the way he can move and how quick he is. He doesn't really focus on the defensive end as he does on the offensive end. That's something I would have, from the very start, I would have imposed that he has to play both ends because if you look at the guys in this league, I mean, you saw Devin Booker in the Olympics play defense. He wasn't even about scoring in the Olympics for him. He was out there, actually playing defense, getting over screens, and he didn't even think about scoring.
Well, that's what Zach did 3 years ago.
Yeah, Zach can play defense. It's just, I think the fact that you have to demand it. You have to set those expectations. Same thing with Vooch. Vooch should be able to have 2 blocks a game, at the center spot because there's not a lot of big guys in the league. He should be right up there in the top 10 in block shots. But you got to impose those guys. You got to sit those guys down and say, hey, look, you guys are veterans, you're leaders. If we're going to win, we're going to have to go through you guys to help us win. And that's with DeMar there being there as well last year. And I think that Billy is a player's coach. He's a player-friendly coach. I would love to play for Billy. Billy's a player-friendly coach. He's not gonna take away what you do. This is what you do. I'm going to let you, play to your strengths. Your weaknesses, we're going to try to avoid the weaknesses as much as possible. But as you can see in the NBA, weaknesses are exposed on a nightly basis.
Yeah, I think Billy's done a really good job of that too. Hiding weaknesses and showing off strengths. Just like some of the role players, he's gotten really good play out of. Derrick Jones Jr. before he was on the Mavs. Billy was one of the first guys who's playing him as a small ball 5. I thought that was really smart. And guys like Javonte Green, he's gotten the most out of these players. You mentioned like getting Zach to buy in on defense. I think he was doing that when he first came back this year. Those first couple games, if you remember, I mean, he was not scoring the ball a lot. He was not taking a lot of shots. He was mostly just passing, trying to play really, really good defense. Now, the problem was that's not what makes him a special player. I mean, this guy is like an unbelievable scorer, and he knows that too. So he can do that. I think you're right that, he can play really good defense when he's locked in. Now, do the Bulls really want him to do that though? I think they want him to play better defense, but certainly like there has to be some sort of balance there. And that's really what Billy's trying to get out of him.
Effort. That's all it is effort. Just go ahead. I mean, listen, I play with the greatest player on earth, and Michael Jordan never took plays off defensively ever. And he had to guard killers. And so Zach, I tell people that they laugh at me. I'm like, Zach has the same kind of MJ athleticism. He has more MJ athleticism than Coby did. And when you watch Zach, everything looks so easy for him. When he takes a 3-point shot, a step back 3, it looks difficult for other people, but he makes it look so easy. And I think if he applied that on the defensive end and maybe average 2 steals a game, people wouldn't be talking much about his defense. And he would be, because at the end of the day, somebody's going to get him. It's because there's going to be if he stays until trade deadline, there's going to be somebody saying that Zach Lavine is a piece that we need to get out of the Western Conference or get out of the Eastern Conference. He's the guy we need. And I believe that his trade value is going to be super high if he can stay healthy.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, that's what I was saying before is like, I really don't think he's going to be on the team for the whole year just because, I mean, NBA general managers probably know better than me, but I just feel like his value is just totally out of line right now.
Yes.
And I mean, he is going to recover that value once they just see that he's healthy. Like he has this reputation as an injury prone player. I don't really know where that comes from. Last year he was hurt, but past couple of years, I mean, we know he's played a lot of games. He's played a lot of minutes.
course, you cover the entire league. It's been an interesting offseason. I think the two teams that are generally regarded as the ones that made the biggest jumps, Oklahoma City had the best record in the West, and they had Alex Caruso and Isaiah Hartenstein they got from the Knicks. And you look over in the East, Paul George joining the Philadelphia 76ers. I think those are the two teams that are really poised to make a jump. How do you handicap the NBA going into the new season? Is Boston still a clear-cut favorite, or have teams closed the gap on the Celtics?
I think Boston has to be a pretty big favorite. I mean, they won the championship pretty comfortably. They didn't have Kristaps Porzingis for part of that stretch, and he was their second best player probably. I mean, he was better than Jaylen Brown during the regular season for large stretches of the season. So, I mean, that just shows you like how far ahead they are. I mean, I think that the gap between them and the other teams has certainly closed. You mentioned the Thunder. I have the Thunder coming out of the West and going to the finals. I just think, I mean, again, I think like nobody really understands outside of Chicago how impactful Alex Caruso was at the end of games. It's just unbelievable how he willed the Bulls to victory in some of these games, just night after night. Hardenstein, as you said, like that's kind of the missing piece for them. They didn't have that big guy that could, go up against other big centers. And then I think some of the other teams in the West have gotten a little bit weaker. The Nuggets, it's been kind of underplayed that they lost Contavious Caldwell-Pope, who's really important for their team. They expect to just replace those minutes with Christian Brown, who, I mean, he shot threes at an okay clip and he played good defense, but he's not the same level of player. So
Hey,
I
they
think they're
got
gonna take a
Westbrook
step back.
now, though.
They did get Russell Westbrook, yeah. Yeah, and they're possibly trading for Jokic's Serbian point guard teammate, Vasilije Micic, too. It could be
Okay.
good for
Ooh.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think they're just I mean, Jamal Murray was terrible in the Olympics.
he
He was
was,
bad
yeah.
in the playoffs last year. I don't really know what's going on with him either. So yeah, I think the Thunder are the number one team in the West.
Do you see anyone making that Minnesota type jump? You know, Minnesota was a team you're like, okay, I can see them getting to the playoffs, but maybe first round, maybe second round, but they made a huge jump, and I attribute it because Towns recognizes that Anthony Edwards is the guy, and he took a back seat and allowed Anthony Edwards to be Anthony Edwards, and I thought that was the difference in the Timberwolves going from a first round to second round exit to possibly coming out of the finals.
Yeah, if I was going to pick a Wolves team for 2025, I would probably pick the Pelicans. You know, the Pelicans never get talked about because Zion is always hurt.
Yeah.
But when Zion is healthy, in the games that he played, they had a record that would have been tied for the number one seed in the Western Conference. I don't know if you guys have seen pictures of Zion in the offseason, but he's
We
looking
were
pretty
just
good,
talking
you
about
know?
that.
Yeah, we talked about
Yeah,
it earlier.
you can't
He
make
stayed
fun
off
of
the
Zion,
beignets,
Stacey.
baby.
I
He's not
know-
eating the
I know you got-
beignets, baby, over there. He stayed off of them.
Yeah, you make fun of the old Zion, not the new one.
Oh my goodness, he looks good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they got DeJounte Murray too, who is, I mean, he was an all-star at one point. They have a really deep starting five. They have Herb Jones and Trey Murphy the third, who those are like two of the better
Yes.
wings in the league that people might not necessarily know about. I think they're actually going to move CJ McCollum to the bench this year. Like that's how cramped their starting five is.
Yeah, I can see that because like I was really concerned that them trying to move Brandon Ingram. I'm like, what are you trying to move Brandon Ingram for? And then now you see they get DeJounte Murray, who is a good two-way player, who I thought was really good for Atlanta last year. And then they had to make a choice between him and my guy Trae Young. But I think that was a good pickup for them. And, with Zion being in shape and he can stay on the court and stay healthy.
Trey Murphy's really good, too.
Trey, I'm going to tell you something, man. That Murphy kid can shoot. Like, he can flat out shoot the basketball. And Herb Jones, like you said, their wings don't get credit. Herb Jones is one of the best on-ball defenders in the NBA. And he was like that as a rookie. I mean, you watch him as a rookie, you're like, man, this kid he gets after you defensively. And they got a shot to be Minnesota, the surprise team in the Western Conference. I agree with that, Steph.
Yeah, I think he shot. I think Herb Jones shot like over 40% from three during the regular season last year too, which was basically his only weakness.
The team that might go the other way is your Los Angeles Clippers. Steve Ballmer's opening the brand new Intuit Dome, and he's really excited. They got the most bathrooms in the league. But I'll tell you what, after Paul George left and Kawhi's always hurt, that team could take a big fall. I think they might miss the playoffs completely this year.
I agree with you, and I don't really understand why they brought James Harden back. I mean,
Yeah.
I think they're going to be like not even in the play-in range, probably like 11th or 12th in the West. So I could see Harden moving again. I mean, that's a pretty safe assumption to make. The guy moves every couple years anyway. But yeah, I agree with you completely there, Mark.
Plenty of room in the bathrooms, though.
Yeah, hey, listen, hey, you may be making a lot of trips to the bathroom watching that team. Blah, blah. Hey, so what about LeBron and the Lakers? You know, they seem that he always seems to be the lightning rod of criticism. What are their chances this year coming out with a new coach, JJ Redick? What do you see them doing?
You know, I think they really did a disservice to LeBron this year. They basically brought back the same entire team. They added Dalton Connect. I mean, he's a rookie though. Like, how much is he really going to do?
Bronny.
They basically, sorry, what was that?
Bronny James.
Bronny James.
They got Bronny, yeah. They basically just blamed Darvin Ham and said that if we bring a new coach in, this guy who is, I mean, he's only coached youth league basketball. I mean, that's no disrespect to JJ. He might do a really good job, but I just think their problems were more roster based than coaching based.
I agree with you. I thought Darvin Ham did probably about as good a job you could do coaching LeBron James, because coaching a player like that, Steph, is hard to coach. You know, because he's the coach, the GM. He's the guy the players listen to. If the coach calls a play, he can change it in midstream.
Scratch that.
And what are you going to say? No, we're not going to do that. We're going to do this. You know what I'm saying? So you don't have the respect. You know, I don't think Darvin Ham had the respect of the players on the roster because of LeBron. And I guarantee, I've heard a lot of Lakers fans say that they'll be glad when he retires. Like, you know, they there's a lot of people don't like him in LA, which is surprising because he's a superstar player.
Yeah, he showed at the Olympics too. He was the best player on Team USA. Anthony Davis was probably the second or third best player on that team. So I think the Lakers do have the top end talent to do a lot of stuff. They just haven't built a good roster around those guys, which is a shame.
Well, we're closing in on the NBA season. Training camp starts in late September. It won't be long before we're getting in the regular season grind. Make sure that you follow Steph Noh with Sporting News. Anything else you want to plug before we let you go?
Nope. Just kind of, taking it easy during this off season, trying to recharge for the season, and hopefully it'll be a good one.
And in America, Bulls Nation, he's not in a hospital with all those white walls. He's in he's in an office area. So I just want everybody to know that. You know, he's not in, Lake County Hospital or something. In a padded room.
Steph, you're a good sport for putting up with our nonsense. We thank you so very much.
Anytime.
We'll be following your coverage as we get ready for the start of the season, and hopefully we'll see you at the United Center this fall.
I'll make a little shrine to Stacey for my next background next time you guys have me on.
Hey, we'll send you some hot sauce.
Yeah, we'll make sure we send you some hot sauce.
Our producer will get your address.
Love some, yeah.
Yeah, we'll send you all our bottles. We'll send you. Give me the hot sauce.
Nicely said. Steph Noh, our guest on Give Me the Hot Sauce.
Thanks, Steph.
We're coming back with
thank you guys so much.
viewer comments and a little bit more as we wrap it up on this episode.
So do you get it?
Stacey mentioned we will get that hot sauce out to him, even though Tim's been missing in action. I think we still got to get him to pack some hot sauce, send it out to our guy.
Yeah, he's been a little lax lately.
Yeah.
A couple of our guests have called me and said, where's my hot sauce?
Where's my hot sauce,
You
Stacey?
guys lied. And I'm like, okay, man, our hot sauce packer has been MIA, so
Missing
I'm going to
in
get it out.
action, yeah.
So, America, this is where Timmy comes in with his little
Christopher Walken.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So we're not doing that, okay? We're not doing that. Are you looking to score the hottest sauce in the game? Well, you're in luck. We got all the sauce your kitchen needs, from Chicago Fire 1871, the hottest of the bunch, to our king's favorite, St. Pat's Verdict. Give Me the Hot Sauce has got you covered. Stop by GimmeTheHotSauce.com and use the code KING21 to get 21% off your first order. And I'm telling you, you can get any of the flavors there. The barbecue sauce right now is on fire in the summertime.
It is barbecue season.
Barbecue season.
Stock up.
And it's all organic, America. And it's thick hot sauce. It's not the water-based hot sauce. If you like the thick, you put it on chips.
Yep.
You can put it on anything, pizzas, hamburgers. It's
Chicken.
awesome. Chicken.
Yeah.
And we're going to be in Mariano's, baby.
This is the part of the show where we ask you to give your comments and questions. We kind of got into last week talking about the top 10 all-time NBA players. That was in the context of Steph Curry being the Olympic hero and the way he's got 4 championships, all-time three-point shooter. Stacey and I were kind of going back and forth on where he fits in the all-time top 10. So we asked you, our listeners and viewers, to come up with your top 10. We're going to show you a couple of them here. Start out with our guy, T-Fly33. He rightfully has Michael Jordan at the top. I think his list is pretty solid, although Curry is kind of high at 4.
Yeah.
But I think he's got a good 10 players there. I mean, you can always quibble about little things, but overall, I think his list is pretty solid.
Well, I mean, yeah, they're pretty. You got Coby, current player on there. You got Bron, current player on there. Shaq, Curry. I still think Curry. He's 5 there. I think he's still. I don't know if he's a top 10 player.
I think Wilt's got to be at any top 10 list.
Wilt's got to be there. You got there's some other players that could be there too. Jerry West.
But it's a solid list overall.
It's solid though. It's solid.
T-Fly, good job.
Good job, T-Fly. We respect that.
We're going to go to DarLynnslots. He's got Bill Russell, the all-time winner. And it really kind of depends on how you look at this.
Yeah.
Obviously, 11 championships as a coach and player. He is the all-time winner. And Wilt, of course, was the all-time leading scorer for a lot of years, scored 100 points in a game, averaged 50 a game one year.
Those from 2, 3, and 4, okay? Wilt, Michael, Kareem. Those where you decide who's 1, 2, and 3, in my opinion. Kareem used to be the all-time leading scorer, unstoppable in the paint. Wilt Chamberlain changed the game. They widened out the lane because of him. And people want to say all they want to about him playing against, he's playing against plumbers and all this other. JJ Redick said all these guys played against plumbers or whatever.
Yeah.
It wasn't their fault, the era they played in. They still had to play basketball. And the numbers he put up, there's records he will never be broken. You're not going to see anybody score 100 points in a game. You're not going to see somebody lead the league in scoring and assists as a 7-footer. It's just not going to happen. So those records are not going to be broken. And then, like I said, Michael being Michael. Michael changed the game too. He revolutionized the game, made the game global. So those guys right there. If you want to have a discussion, who's number 1, number 2, number 3, those guys right there would be in the main conversation.
Cisco, can you put that list back up there again? My guy trying to spell Alajiwan, he flunked spelling there, but nice try.
Oh, Lord. That's like one of those you just sounded out.
Yeah.
Alajiwan. Alajiwan. I know it has W-A-N at the end. Oh, DarLynnslots. Say, well, we didn't mean
the
to.
dream.
We didn't mean
the dream.
We didn't mean to bust you out, bro. We didn't need to bust you out.
Now let's go to Junior Yanez, 23. Mm-hmm. He's got a different look here. He's got Magic Johnson at the top. And Magic, in terms of the showmanship and some of the things that he brought to the game, off the court in terms of his marketability and things like that, he was definitely one of the all-time greats. I would have Magic, I think, in my top 5. He's got some of the old-timers going. As you look further down the list, he's got Jerry West and Oscar at 9 and 10.
Oh, and he's got Hakeem out there. No one talks about, we just saw Olajuwon, and, but having Hakeem should be considered a top 10 player with the way, because in his era, there was nobody better. I mean, he dominated his era, and, he was the Michael Jordan of big guys. And that was the one guy that when we talked about being in the finals against Houston, that was the one guy that we were concerned about. We weren't concerned about anybody else. We were concerned about if we had to ever match up against Houston in the finals, that was the guy that we had to worry about.
One name we haven't seen on any of these top 10 lists is Tim Duncan. Where do you think?
Yeah, where's Tim Duncan at?
He's won 5 championships. He wasn't a prolific scorer, but when you think about his consistency year in and year out, some people consider him the best power forward ever.
20 plus points, double-digit rebounds, blocks. He could get some votes in the top 10. I mean, he's arguably the best power forward of all time. So that right there gives you some credibility as a top 10 player. Some people say Karl Malone, people in Utah say Karl Malone. I don't think too many other people.
Because he and Stockton never won a championship.
Exactly. Well, listen, when Michael Jordan, this is the difference between Michael Jordan and LeBron James, okay? When Michael played, nobody ate.
That's right.
Nobody ate, okay? And those all those guys. A lot of people went to the restaurant. A lot of people went to the restaurant, but they couldn't eat because Michael wouldn't allow you to eat. When LeBron's watch, everybody eating. Yeah. Because he's going to go down as his nemesis is going to be Steph Curry. Right. In his era. People are going to be talking about Steph Curry was the best player in that era. And that was his era. So, Jokic is eating. Tatum and these guys are eating now. Yeah. There's a lot of people eating on LeBron's watch.
Dirk was eating back in the day, too.
Oh, he was eating. And it wasn't a Happy Meal, America. He was eating steaks and lobster, baby. Yeah. The cough game. Remember they said they made fun of him? Yeah. Dirk was like, okay, I got something for you.
Take a look at the all-time scoring list. Dirk Nowitzki's way up there on that, too.
Oh, yes.
He was an all-time great as well. And then our social media director, Nick, he put together a list as well because he and Stacey were arguing after the show because he was born. He was born after 2000.
Yeah, he was born after
so,
2000.
Yeah.
Yes, and he pretty much stole my list. Okay, he had a lot of young players on there.
Yeah.
You know, he had Anthony Edwards. He had all these young players on there. And what have you done for me lately, guys? You know what I'm saying? He had John Morant. He had all, Trey Young. Now he went back and copied my list and got all the old players. And he's got Steph Curry. Now he had Steph Curry higher than 6. Okay. Yeah. Now he realizes that, hey, maybe they're right. Maybe he's not. Maybe he's not a top 3.
And he spelled Olajuwon right. Way to go, Nick.
Yeah, well, he's a smart kid. He's a smart kid. Anybody who works here, you got to be smart. So I can't say that about everybody that worked here, but the people who have worked.
Oh my goodness. A shot across the bow.
No straight bullets, Mark. No straight bullets, baby. Come on, baby. Hey, if you're listening to former workers, we love y'all.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a struggle bus today.
Yeah, we got a struggle bus today. We don't know. We powered through today, baby. If you only know what goes on behind the scenes, America, our guys behind this little glass here, they keep the ship floating. It was like the Titanic. We hit an iceberg, but we didn't sink today. We didn't sink. The ship stayed up. Way to go, guys, down there in the coal room. They shoveling coal in the ship to keep the ship above water. Way to go, D. Way to go, Cisco. And way to go, Nick.
And Nick did a nice job on his list, and he's going to be in contact with the other 3 individuals that weighed in today. We're going to send you some of Stacey's hot sauce.
And Nick's gonna get some hot sauce tonight because we're gonna play.
That's right.
We're playing NCAA America. If you got NCAA and you on the Xbox, look me up. Give me your gamer tag. I'll bust your ass. Okay, so Nick is trying to challenge me today. I made a challenge yesterday on Twitter. And I challenged people. Right? I beat somebody 85-21. I didn't want to beat him that bad, Mark, but I was forced to do it because I knew if I lost, they was gonna post it. So Stacey King sucks. Well, I had to beat him like he stole something. So Nick saw it, and Nick's talking trash. So Nick comes here and saying, "Oh, I'll beat you. I'll kill you." Da, da, da. So Nick's going to get a good old-fashioned Oklahoma ass whipping tonight on the video game. NCAA 25. And if you're good, America, just send it in. Send in to Nick. Tell me your gamer tag. I will play you too.
And Nick's getting ready to...
Look, there's a score, Mike. Mark, South Carolina, that's me. 85. I know you thought it was a basketball game. It's 85-21. That is a football game, America. That is not a basketball game. We ran a fast break on that ass last night. So Adam, my boy, I just want you to know who I played online. Adam's a good kid.
Yeah.
I know he was butthurt, though. He's like, damn, I thought I was good until he ran across me. I told you, there's levels to this, okay?
No
I'm up here. Nick is down here. And I wish we could simulcast it so America can see it. Okay, I already said we're gonna start. I'm gonna bring an Xbox here. We're gonna hook it up to the big screen TV here, and we might start video.
Find a way to record some of that game.
Yeah,
show some of the highlights.
Oh, Nick, you don't want. Nick's already making excuses now. Well, I hadn't played as much, and because he asked me how many games I played online. I said over 200 games online. He's like, Oh, I've only played like 3 times. Okay, so you already know we're on different levels. But I'm not gonna take it easy on Nick because he talked trash, and so I'm gonna wear his butt. There's no quitting either, Nick. There's no 21-point rule. You're gonna finish the game 4 quarters.
Yeah, Nick does a great job for us. If you've been following us on social media, you see some of the great posts he's had up there. He's going to start his semester at Loyola coming up real soon. So he's not going to be here in studio for our show, but he's still going to contribute on social media and help us out. So we want to thank him for all his efforts. I want to thank Dee and Cisco for a great job as well. Got to give you a little what are we watching before we get out. We mentioned Hard Knocks earlier. Watched the second episode. I thought it was much better than the first. They told some of the interesting stories. The rookie running back, Ian Wheeler, was pretty cool. He said he's going to go to medical school, but his dream was to play in the NFL, so he's going to pursue it as much as he can. He had 2 touchdowns then against the Bills. I got a kick out of watching Austin Reed's parents in the stands. He's the 4th-string quarterback. Yeah. And they know he's not likely to make it, but they were cheering on every play. Like,
hey, you know what? This is these
he's
kids.
Living his dream.
This is a dream. These kids want to be a professional athlete. They want to be an NFL player. And it's a hard world. It's a hard job to keep, so, but it's always good to see Hard Knocks. They do such a great job of behind the scenes and seeing what these players go through daily, the trials and tribulations, the ups and downs, the heartache. It gives you a glimpse of what it's like to be a professional athlete. I wish they did that for the NBA. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah. How about DJ Moore and his family? Took him to the Museum of Ice Cream. They had a ball pit made out of sprinkles and stuff.
Oh, wow.
His little daughter's cute.
Oh, wow. I didn't know.
It was a lot of fun. Yeah, so the new episode is coming out tomorrow, Tuesday night, episode 3, and I'm sure you'll be seeing Lots of Caleb Williams brilliance at Soldier Field.
It's about that time in America. I have to read another read.
No, you got to give your what are you watching first.
Oh, we still doing what are you watching?
Yeah.
Oh, put me on the screen. Spartacus, Blood and Sand. This is an old one, but a goodie. Okay, this is if you know anything about the Romans and all that stuff. I'm big into history, so I love that kind of stuff. This came out I think on HBO or Showtime. I don't know, but it's on Netflix and Paramount. And I like to go back and rewatch things that I've watched before. So you might have missed something or picked something up. And it's a great show. Spartacus ends up fighting for the Romans. The Romans needed his country to fight, and that's when the Romans were taking everything over. And then the Romans made his people slaves. After they fought for him, helped them win the war, the Romans made his country slaves. And so he ends up being a slave. He has to fight his way out through the arena. He becomes a gladiator, and he ends up fighting his way out, and they go up against the Romans, and it's a great show. You should check it out.
Cisco, put that photo up again. The lead actor, he kind of looks like Anton Starr from The Boys and the sheriff.
Yeah,
Banshee.
he passed away though.
Yeah,
he was the original. I think it's Andy Hetfield. Okay. He was the original Spartacus. He was good. The first year he was awesome as Spartacus, and then he ended up dying of cancer. Young guy, like 36 years old, was just coming into acting. He was starting to get some big roles. An English actor, ended up getting like stomach cancer. Passed away after the first year. They recast the role, which I didn't like at the time. They recast the role and they got another guy to play Spartacus, and he was really good too. But he didn't have the body like Andy had. Andy was like cut up like a real gladiator. Mm-hmm. This guy looked like he might have sold ice cream at Oberweis. So Sonny, he had a really soft body. It was like, come on, man. But then they kept all the original characters with them, so you were able to. The acting was good for him. The guy who played the part. It just didn't. He needed to get in and do a couple push-ups and sit-ups and stuff like that.
As we tell you every week, if you haven't seen it yet, make sure you check out Banshee. It's on Netflix now, and it's one of the wildest rides you'll ever experience, but it's a hell of a lot of fun.
I'm telling you, man, it's one of the best shows that are like go under the radar.
Yeah.
Because people, when I heard about it, I was like, I'm not watching that. And this is before I saw The Boys. And then so finally I was like, you know what? I've heard y'all talk about it so much. I said, let me go check it out. And then I end up watching it. It's one of those shows like the first episode, you kind of like, I don't know if I want to finish this. But if you stay with it, you're gonna fall in love with it.
Some of the violence in the scenes, it's just off the charts.
Well, it's crazy how he became the sheriff. This guy's a criminal. This guy has been to prison. He escapes, and then he's in a bar. He's in the bar where the guy, the actual sheriff was coming to town.
Right.
They just gave him a contract to come in, and the guy gets shot and killed in the bar. The sheriff gets shot.
I'll take his identity.
I'll take his identity. And the guy was able to do it for the longest until remember the son came, son of the cop came. Yeah. So and this dude from The Boys, it was his name Anthony Starr.
Yeah.
He's great in this Banshee role.
Yeah.
He becomes a villain. He goes from being the villain to a hero.
Right.
And he's fighting up against corrupt people in the town, and he does such a great job. He's no nonsense. And it's a great show. Then he went on to do The Boys after that.
Yeah.
So if I was y'all, watch Banshee. Banshee is, if you like The Boys, watch Banshee.
Check it out. Banshee. Look for it on Netflix. It's Banshee, the name of the small town. All right, time for you to do the readers before we get out of here.
Yes, my boy Mike, he's out there right now. Probably got back and got a chicken from Mariano's and having a picnic in the back. So we're at Windy City Limousine, provides championship service. Making a reservation is so easy, it's a slam dunk. Let Windy City break the full court pressure of traffic and get you to your destination in style and on time. Contact them at 847-916-9300. That's 847-916-9300. Or go to windycitylimos.com. They have every vehicle that you could use, party buses if you have more than 25 people. Ask for Mike Amaroth. I know, he's become famous now since we got his name out in the Doublemint Twins. His back is back to being strong again. You can't take Mike anywhere. I took Mike to a party this weekend, man. My girlfriend had a birthday party for her son, so I take Mike, and Mike's like, he just gets to talking, and so Mike made some enemies this weekend. He made some enemies this weekend. He said some things that you shouldn't say. So I told him that he had Tourette's.
Oh no!
I told the people he had Tourette's, just ignore it because Mike just blurts things out. He has no filter, so he's honest. He's honest, and so we're asking him about a particular cookie. He was asking about a cookie, and so Mike's like, "How'd you like that cookie? The cookie was great." Mike's like, "Oh, it was the hardest cookie I ever ate, and the golf ball almost broke my tooth." And I'm like, and I'm over there looking at Mike, like, Mike, don't say that. Well, I'm just being honest. I'm like, oh, Mike.
Nobody wants honesty. Mike.
Nobody wants honesty. Just keep it to yourself, Mike. All right, because you're not invited anymore. That's what they say. Don't bring this guy with you anymore, Stacey.
Mike, you're all right. You're number one in our book. We
Number
appreciate
one.
all your efforts, and make sure to contact Windy City Limousine for all your transportation needs. Again, our thanks to Steph Noh, our guys Nick and Dee and Cisco doing a great job behind the scenes. We'll have a new show coming at you next week. Until then,
drive home safe in Chicago. Beep, beep. Hey, what's up? This is Stacey King.
And I'm Timmy Whispers.
Of Gimme the Hot Sauce podcast. Each week, make sure you join us. Timmy Whispers, what do you need to hit?
They need to hit like and subscribe so they get all the notifications and news from our podcast.
That boy is sweet. Just make sure when the video's over, click to the left, and you'll hear our previous videos for the previous week and have some fun because we'd love to have fun on Gimme the Hot Sauce podcast.
Woohoo!
Oh my goodness! It's only preseason, but I'm hyped. Neil Thought, Jimmy G, buckets, gets buckets. Oh my goodness! Give me the hot sauce.